My name is Parama Karuna, and this is the channel of the Vedic Research Center. We continue in this video the discussion about the Ashrama Dharma. If you don't do the yagya, you're eating only sin. You're eating contaminated food. It's not purified, it's not pure. Because in the worship to the fire, you offer food, you offer worship to the devas, not just the fire. The fire is the medium through which you make offerings to the devas. In the Homa, you have to do offerings to the devas and not just the Agni. When you start the Homa, you offer worship to Agni, then you offer Ahuti to the devas and everything. No. And then at the end, that fire, you take it to the kitchen and you start cooking. You can see this is still done in the Sri Mandir for Jagannath. This is why I consider the Jagannath tradition as the most, interesting tradition in Hinduism. If we study the tradition of Jagannath in Puri, we can understand a lot of things. I think that's the best place to understand. Anyway, so what happens is that the Grihastha is doing all these duties, ritual duties, starting the fire and cooking and doing his professional, social duties and everything. The Vanaprastha, it can still light the fire and cook, but in on a level of Manasika Puja. So the ritual duties become more and more internal. The consciousness becomes deeper. That is why the Upanishad and Aranyaka are specifically for the Vanaprasthas. What is the meaning of Aranyaka? Aranya is the forest. So Upanishad and Aranyaka are the philosophical version of the Vedic knowledge. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is explaining there are so many different types of yagya. The yagya of the knowledge is just as good as the yagya in which you sacrifice material goods. And this is a training period that goes on for ideally about 25 years. In that period, you actually are meant to internalize the entire range of religious duties. The entire spiritual religious life becomes focused on the Atman. At that time, you enter into the sannyas. Because you give up everything. You have no religious duties externally. Because all your religious duties are performed internally. The duty of the sannyas is to be completely detached from social interaction and duties. Now, of course, then we speak about Hinduism here. We have been speaking about the Varnashrama dharma until now. Now we can speak about Hinduism. Hinduism has been, we can say, created in a sense by Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara was a great reformer But he still kept to the fundamental principles of dharma and vidya. But he made, he did a huge revolution, because the Varnashrama system was already declining. It was still working, here and there. But the system had already been declining so much that, Buddha appeared, because it was not, the Varnashrama system was not working perfectly anymore, because with the advance of Kali Yuga, people were just not able to follow it. So what did Adi Shankar do? He said, okay, the sannyasas are not useful anymore, because there is nobody who is able to be a sannyasi in the right way. Just go and die out there in the middle of nothing. What is the benefit for society? Society needed something better. So Adi Shankar introduced the idea of the Matha, the Matham, which is not a monastery, because a monastery is a Christian concept, but it's a equivalent of the asana village that the brahmanas were supposed to have. The sasana brahmanas are supposed to be brahmanas who have an asana, a place, a stan, where they teach. Now, because the brahmanas were not really doing it very well, Adi Shankar said, okay, let's make an asana for sannyasis, for people who are really serious about religious life and spiritual life. They leave everything else, and they just focus on religious life, spiritual life, like the brahmanas were supposed to do, but we're not doing anymore. So the Matha was like an ashram as a religious spiritual place, but without the same ritualistic duties that brahmanas had. So it was a sort of kula, or established a group or family, in which they were all sannyasis. And the sannyasis accepted brahmacharis as students. So the mathas became places for the sannyasis and brahmacharis, which, according to the original orthodox Vedic Varnashrama dharma, doesn't make sense. Because if you go and see the Sannyasa Upanishads, there are very clear instructions for the sannyasis that are not feasible anymore. A sannyasi could never accept a disciple. In the Varnashrama system, a sannyasi cannot accept disciples. Only the Brahmana can accept disciples. We can see the evidence when you have the list of the 7 mothers of each human being. One is the wife of the guru. Okay, who is the wife of the guru if the guru is a sannyasi? Doesn't make sense. This is because sannyasis were not supposed to be gurus. The position of guru was a position within the Varnashrama system for the Grihastha Brahmanas. That was their social job, their social duty, professional duty, their Varna duty. This is how they were serving the social body, the Purusha, the Virat Purusha. of society. The Brahmanas were supposed to do that job. As the Brahmanas stopped doing their job properly, then Adi Shankar said, okay, let's get the sannyasis to do this job. Now, this is the difference between Varnashrama Dharma and Hinduism. Hinduism is still supposed to follow the same principles of Dharma and Vidya, but according to Desha Kalapatra, according to time, place, and circumstance. It can be changed. It's not just Adi Shankar. Let's see. The Shastras are telling us very clearly that in Satya Yuga there is one Varna only, the Paramahansa Varna. Kali Yuga, everybody is a Brahmana. So, is Varnashrama Dharma? Let me think. But the point of Varnashrama Dharma, why Krishna is saying Chatur Varnyam Maya Shristam, because these are the 4 possible inclinations of all human beings, natural inclinations. The number of people who have the different inclinations can vary. In Satya Yuga, everybody has the guna and karma of Brahmanas. In Kali Yuga, everybody tends to have the guna and karma of Shudras. Kalo Shudra Sambhava. Everybody will become a Shudra. In between, we have all the 4 possibilities. Now, Hinduism also has a wide range of other possibilities. Like, for example, the yoga. The yoga system and the bhakti system have nothing to do with the Varnashrama Dharma. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that the yogi doesn't have to follow the karma kanda system. The yogi and the bhakta are transcendental, are on a transcendental level. If someone is always focused on spiritual life, religious life, spiritual realization, Atman Brahman realization, they are on the same level of sannyasis. But because they're not sannyasis in the Varna system, they don't have to follow the same strict rules of sannyasis in the Varna system. This is why Adi Shankar didn't exactly invent something that was totally out of the world, because there was already the example of yoga and bhakti that were not regulated by the Varnashrama system. In the realm of yoga and bhakti, you just focus on the most important thing. You don't care about rules so much. The rules become just a support to develop your actual consciousness. But they're just a transition. That is what is called sadhana bhakti or sadhana yoga, yoga sadhana. Sadhana means that you follow some rules, some basic rules, but they're not the rules of Varnashrama Dharma. They're Samanya Dharma. That is Sanatana Dharma. That is outside the system of Varnashrama. Sanatana Dharma, and we come here to the original purpose of the discussion. Sanatana Dharma is the original, natural, universal nature of the Atman. It is based on some fundamental principles of Dharma and Vidya, that each human being will naturally, automatically be able to understand, irrespective of the culture that he was born and brought up in, irrespective of belonging group, irrespective of the culture, irrespective of anything. You go to any decent, mentally healthy, sane human being, and he will understand Satyam, Dayam, Socham, and Tapas. Doesn't take the Vedic Shastra to tell him that. So this is why it is also called conscience. Conscience is something that each human being has, because that is a spiritual DNA. So Sanatana Dharma is eternal and universal. Another definition of Sanatana Dharma is Samanya Dharma. Samanya means is the same for everyone. Sanatana means eternal, and Samanya means the same for everyone. Now, the Shudras are also expected to follow the Samanya Dharma, which is basically truthfulness, compassion, cleanliness, and self-control. Any decent human being can understand that these are fundamental. If we don't follow these 4 basic principles, there is no meaning to the concept of religion. It's just a fraud. It's just a fraud. So, now we understand what is the meaning of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is something that will always be. Even without any training, any education, anything. Any person, you go in the wild tribes anywhere. A decent person will follow these principles naturally, universally and eternally. This is why it's called Sanatana. Now, Hinduism could be if it is following the basic principles of Dharma. Otherwise, it gets confused. Varnashrama Dharma is scientific because the training and the duties are made in such a way that you develop all these principles of Dharma in the best possible way. Okay, we already went past the hour.